So before I begin, just out of courtesy to everyone in here, I would like to issue a trigger warning in that the theme of sexual assault will be prevalent during my speech. So if that makes you uncomfortable and you feel the need to step out, please feel free to do so. Okay, so if you had asked me before the summer began what I wanted my career to be, my answer would have been pretty straightforward and simple. And I would have responded saying, I want to be a mental health practitioner working in prisons to provide mental health therapy to those incarcerated individuals. It was this belief that led me to intern at OAR and to apply for the Civic Fellowship program. For those of you that don't know, OAR of Richmond is a nonprofit that works with people who have recently been released from prisons, and they offer a bunch of different services to help with re-entry into society. Over the course of my time this summer, I was given an extraordinary look into the criminal justice system in the state of Virginia, along with being able to have important ethical, philosophical, and moral conversations with my coworkers and my faculty mentor. No conversation has stuck with me more than one I had with one of my coworkers named Burr while we were working the front desk one morning. Burr is the program manager for the Virginia Serious and Violent Offender Reentry, or VASAVOR program at OAR. After working up the courage to ask what I thought was going to be a pretty difficult question to answer, I finally turned to Burr and asked him, how do you emotionally deal with the history of some of your clients? Given his work in the VASAVOR program, I figured Burr would be the best resource to answer this question because the VASAVOR program deals with some of the most serious clientele that OAR works with. During my time at OAR, there was one thing that I always found myself struggling with and struggling to square with my own personal beliefs and perspectives, and those were the clients that had a history of sexual violence. During the summer, I interviewed over the phone and in person as part of the intake process people who did have a history of sexual violence, and I found myself unsure how to feel and approach this work. Burr's advice to me since that day has stuck with me since. He made 2 points. The first is that you fully need to immerse yourself in your extracurricular activities and give yourself all of them, because if you don't, you will drown. The second point that he made is that not every case is the same, and the words that come on someone's criminal history are not their entire story, and that you need to work on a human level to understand where someone is coming from and to get to know their story. He concluded by mentioning that sometimes the people who commit these crimes have previously been victims themselves. Research has shown that about 4% of incarcerated individuals report being a victim of sexual victimization. 32 to 66% report being a victim of physical victimization, and between 19 to 48% report being a victim of property victimization. On top of those, there is also some recent research that investigates the role of seeing victimization in prisons, not experiencing it, but seeing it, and how that increases the risk of reincarceration or parole violation when compared to people who haven't seen it. After this, like I said, I was left confused and unsure of how I should take what Burr had just said to me. On the one hand, I understood and valued the perspective that Burr was coming from, but on the other, it didn't fully mesh with my own belief system. But luckily, I had my faculty mentor, Dr. Lumber, to talk about these complex issues. She pointed me to a line of reasoning in moral psychology is that when we look for justice in dyads. We view each situation as having a victimizer and a victim. What gets overlooked in that dichotomy is the fact that the victimizer might also have at one point been victims themselves, which seemed to line with the case that Burr was making. I tell you all this now because it has been the point of most growth for myself over the summer. Faced with this multifaceted issue and competing perspectives, I was able to come back to one core truth. People's environments shape the circumstances of their lives. That much is unquestionable. However, no matter our circumstances, life always gives us a choice between doing the right thing and doing the wrong one. And the most important thing to do is make the right choice. This core truth has guided my thinking in the weeks since my internship has ended. Now, I am unsure of my future and what I want to do with my career. As a mental health practitioner or service worker, I would need to have the ability to give all of myself to the people that I'm working with. And with the experience that I had over the summer, I'm not sure if I can do that. Which is important because giving anything less than all of myself to these people would not only be a disservice to them, but it would also be unjust. It took experiencing these issues and facing the reality of the criminal justice system to shake myself from the narrow-minded path that I thought I was supposed to be on. At the very least, I know one thing. I will continue to ponder, research, and advocate for mental health care, especially within prisons, as it is a cause that I firmly believe in. But what my role will be in that is unclear. I want to close by thanking OAR and the Civic Fellows Program for not only allowing me to grow from a professional standpoint, but also the ability to recognize the unique perspectives, beliefs, and values that I hold.